Hi and welcome to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be talking about how I grew this Philodendron Gloriosum from a very small plant into the plant that you can see here today. I'm going to be talking about light conditions, growing conditions, how I grow it in terms of the potting medium, and all the information that you'll need so that you too can have great success with this beautiful plant. Before I get into the video, hi, my name's Alexis and this is Wild Houseplants. I'm a houseplant enthusiast and I also work as a houseplant technician, which basically means when I'm not looking after my own plants, I'm looking after other people's. If you don't follow me over on Instagram or TikTok, you can find me there at Wild Houseplants. And if you do enjoy this video today, I'd love it if you hit that subscribe button below, because it really helps out my channel. I also have a selection of other videos all about how you can care for individual plants and how I've grown them in my collection, so you can check those ones out as well. Okay, so I actually got this as a very small plant back in July 2023, and I got it as part of a Grow Tropicals rescue box. So if you don't know what that is, basically Grow Tropicals is a plant company here in the UK, an online retailer. And they were working with Sarah, aka the plant rescuer. And basically she was working with individual plant shops to create these rescue boxes where you could pay a discounted rate and receive maybe 4 or 5 plants that may have some defects, or maybe like some scratching on the leaves or broken leaves or ripped leaves. Or maybe they've had pests in the past and there was just sort of like, there was some markings on the leaf or things like that. And it was a way for those retailers to get rid of plants that they couldn't sell on the site at full price without sending them to landfill. And it was a way for us as consumers to be able to purchase plants at obviously a much cheaper price. So I bought one of these rescue boxes. I think I paid £15 for it, and I got 4 or 5 plants. I got a calathea, I got this, I got an alocasia, I got a couple of others as well, which I can't currently remember what they were. But I was really happy with the box. And this was one of the plants in it, and it was literally about this big at the time. I'll put in a picture on the screen. And it's funny because I don't think I ever would have chosen to buy this plant myself, purely based on the fact that this plant is a crawler. So it doesn't grow vertically, it crawls along the ground basically in its natural habitat. And the thing with crawlers is that they do obviously take up a lot of space. With plants that grow vertically, or they're quite compact, you can have many plants on a shelf, and they're all sort of, as long as you've got vertical space, they're all kind of grow upwards, or you can put them on a moss pile and climb and get them to climb upwards. With crawling plants, of course, they're just going to continue to want to crawl and you're going to need to find yourself some space. So this is the only crawling plant that I own. And like I say, I'm not sure I would have ever chosen to buy it. And when I first got it, I didn't particularly love it. I was like, cool, I've got that. I'll see what I can get out of this plant. But I didn't have particularly high expectations for it. And I also wasn't aware that I was going to be able to grow it into this and also love it as much as I do now. So in terms of the growing conditions, like I say, this plant is a crawler. So obviously when you get it and it's a small cutting, I just put it into a pot. I changed it out of the soil that it came in with and put it into like a chunky soil mix of like cocoa, coir, perlite and orchid bark. And I just let it do its thing. I think I put it under a grow light and just kind of let it adapt for a while. And I kind of not forgot about it. Obviously I looked after it, watered it, but it wasn't until it started to sort of crawl that I realized I needed to get it out of like the circular pot it was in and put it into a more like rectangular planter, or this planter that I actually got from IKEA. Now, this is kind of an unusual setup. I don't grow any of my other plants in this setup, and it was just purely because I found this planter in IKEA. So the way that this planter works is this top section is actually terracotta, and this bottom section here is ceramic, and you would put in water into this bottom section here, and then the idea is that you would have soil in this top section and leave the water reservoir in here, and as the terracotta it would just basically, because the terracotta is porous, it would absorb the water from the reservoir and it would keep the soil moist. So it's basically like a self-watering setup. However, I didn't know if this was going to work well with semi-hydro, and I wanted to grow this plant in semi-hydro. So I don't actually really use the self-watering aspect of it. I just kind of water from the top. And I just like the look of this planter. But so essentially I wanted to move the plant. Once it started to crawl, I decided to get it out of soil and into semi-hydro. This is the really fine semi-hydro from HUGE. Most of my plants now are potted into the chunkier mix that I get from Soil Ninja. I haven't actually bought HUGE in a really long time. But when I put this, and that's not for any reason other than it's just easier for me to access the chunky mix from Soil Ninja, and I prefer the chunkier stones because I don't know, I just think they allow for a little bit more aeration. But yeah, so I've got it into this very fine mix from HUGE, and it's obviously been doing really, really brilliantly. So basically, it started off and it was just probably like a few leaves in here, and it's obviously climbed all this way, and it's now reached here, the end of the planter. So I am going to have to make a decision about what to do about sizing it up. I'm going to have to extend it quite a bit, and that's going to make it, I'm going to have to find somewhere that it can sit where it's going to let me have that much space for it. Yes, I've got to make some decisions about this plant and what to do with it. But what I would say is when you first get it, if you get it as a small plant, then just let it go in a normal pot until it starts to naturally climb. That's when you can start to get it into something more like a rectangle, more oval pot. To suggest that you get it out of soil at some point and into semi-hydro. I mean, I think this plant could absolutely grow happily in soil. It's just for me, the semi-hydro has obviously worked really, really well. And also the combination between terracotta and semi-hydro has also worked really well. So obviously with terracotta being porous, it means that the semi-hydro potentially is drying out faster than it would do in a plastic pot. And also normally I would be providing a little reservoir of water, and I'm not with this one. So all I do is I just water in lightly from the top every sort of 4 or 5 days or something like that. And that seemed to keep it happy. I also fertilize this plant every single water. I've basically fertilize all my plants with every single water, unless I'm like rushing out the door and I notice that something desperately needs to be watered and I haven't got time to get my fertilizer ready. But other than that, if I'm intentionally watering my plants, then I will fertilize every time I water. And that is because I am providing really good light all year round. If you've watched my channel for a while, you'll know that I've recently moved house, and this room has got amazing natural light. But even in rooms in my house that don't have so much natural light, or in my old house, I always supplemented with grow lights. So my plants are growing all year round, maybe not as much as they would do in the spring and summer months, because also at the moment, like this time of year, we've also got the warmth, which really helps the plants to grow. One thing I would say with this plant is that you need to keep an eye on pests. So I have had thrips on this plant, but I know other people struggle with spider mites. I have had recently a bad spider mite outbreak, but for whatever reason, they haven't found this plant. So again, what I would do is just put this in the shower and give the leaves a really good hose down regularly, or I would get myself a mix of peppermint soap and some warm water, and I would just spray and wipe the leaves down with a microfiber cloth. Obviously you do have these velvety leaves, so they can, like, you can maybe see some little bit of staining around here, and that's just from like guttation when the plant has produced water in its leaves. But yeah, so you don't want to be rubbing the leaves too much, because you may end up scarring the leaves, because velvet leaves are quite delicate, and also because they're quite thin and puffy, these leaves, when you're rubbing, you want to be very delicate so you don't end up ripping the leaves, especially any new leaves that's unfurling. Obviously what you can see here is this is the latest leaf here, and just look at how much they have sized up, like from that leaf to this leaf, that leaf to that leaf to that leaf to that leaf to this leaf to this leaf, and then this bad boy here. And what I absolutely love is that this last leaf has chosen to come right here in the middle where the sort of gap is in the plant rather than coming out over here. And that's because I'm providing light from the front. So if you want all your leaves to be facing outwards towards the room, I've got a wall. It literally just sits in that little gap where the sun is shining behind me there. And it gets bright sun in the morning. So I've got a skylight here, and the sun comes down, and this plant gets morning sun. So some direct sun in the morning, up until sort of between like 9 and 11 o'clock in the morning. So it's not super harsh sun, and this plant absolutely loves it. I always tell people not to be worried about direct sun as long as you think that the plant can handle it. It's not particularly delicate plant like a fern or something like that. Most plants can tolerate small amounts of direct sun, and it actually will really benefit the plant, especially if it's in the morning or the late afternoon. You want to probably avoid this plant and most of your plants getting a lot of direct sun in the middle of the day, obviously when the sun is at its strongest. But a little bit of direct sun in the morning or the late afternoon and your plants will absolutely love it. Signs that your plant will be receiving too much light or too much light intensity or for too long a period would be things like bleaching. So if your leaves start looking more like yellowy colour, then that's a sign that your plant is obviously receiving too much direct sun, or of course burn marks as well would be a classic sign too. But this plant absolutely loves a little bit of direct morning sun, and she just glistens in the sun and she's absolutely stunning. So yeah, I hope this has been helpful. Let me know in the comments if you have one of these and you're looking to get it to size up. Obviously, as I say, I've got some big decisions to make about how I'm going to keep this plant growing, because it's obviously not going to stay in here for too much longer. I think I'll probably will get one more leaf out of it, and then I will have to, I think, probably just upsize it. But I want to find another kind of cute planter. Like, that's what I liked about this one so much, is it wasn't, you know, it's nice to look at. So I need to find something else that will look as nice as this one and allow this one to continue to grow. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, pop them down in the comments. I do reply to all my comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.